Hey, thanks for making it to Veterans Info Tap. I'm glad you made it. Is there really going to be no more C&P exams? That's the headlines we're seeing. Well, let's find out. I'm going to jump into this. Before I do, though, I want to throw on a special thank you to Roy Schofield 7123. Roy Schofield, thank you so much for that super comment, super chat. I really do appreciate your support so very much. I thank you. All right, so let's jump into this. I'm going to give you kind of the overview first, and we're going to dive into it directly from the book, the M21-1 on it. But let's give you the overview first here. This was updated March 10th, 2025, sharing it with you here today. There's been a lot of information on this. I was kind of thinking, should I, shouldn't I? Because at the end of the day, if the VA tells you to go to a C&P exam, my suggestion is go to the C&P exam, talk with your accredited rep, all that good stuff, and get their advice too. I'd rather just kind of play ball when it comes to that type of stuff. In any case, hit the thumbs up, subscribe, share with a friend, all that good stuff. I really appreciate it. Every thumbs up, every minute watched really does help to spread the reach. That's really what we're trying to do, so I appreciate it very much. Thank you to all you members. If you want to become a member, you can go to the home page. You'll see the highlighted members and a join button. Thank you so much to all you members. I really do my best to try to get back to you in the comments. All right, so on March 10th, the VA's M21-1 regulation was updated to provide guidance on ordering and developing VA disability claims and ratings, including information on evidentiary standards and the duty to assist veterans. Here's the breakdown of the changes. Evidentiary standards for finding an examination or opinion necessary using medical evidence in lieu of examination. I'm just going to tell you this. It all comes down to you going above and beyond and providing all that you can with your claim. Whether it's a claim for a first-time service connection, whether it's a claim for an increase, whether it's a claim for a secondary. You have the control of how much am I going to supply? Am I going to, just give them a little bit? Or am I going to really hammer it home that without a doubt, this should be service connected? I will tell you, there's all kinds of tools out there that you can utilize when you're working that stuff up, whether it's with your doctor or if you have to utilize AME, American Medical Experts, board certified doctors, free consultation, getting a diagnosis, getting a Nexus Letter if needed. And oh, by the way, a Nexus Letter could be used for that service connection that you don't have hard evidence during your time in service. But a Nexus can also be utilized for tying a secondary condition to an existing service-connected condition. So Nexus letters provided, disability questionnaires provided. The difference really, the best way to think about Nexus letter, that helps you get the service connection. DBQ helps you get the correct rating. So if you don't provide the VA in your claim all of the information that they need to not only provide service connection, but to also provide them with the information they need to rate you appropriately, they're going to need an exam so they could figure out where you should fall on the rating schedule, right? If you just send them a diagnosis and a Nexus letter saying that it's from your time in service, but there's nothing really spelling out the severity of the condition or your range of motions or all these different things that they have to utilize in order to give you the correct rating, then you're going to get an exam. I'm just telling you that. So, but you can circumvent it, right, by working with your doctor. If they don't understand, don't want to do it, they're confused, utilize AME. AME will drive you down the right road. Again, free consultation. Information's in the description and in the comments. All right, so where we left off was that the regulation clarifies that medical evidence of record, what you supply, may be deemed adequate for rating purposes, allowing decisions on claims without requesting an examination or medical opinion. So, I went through that whole thing about providing, really detailed evidence with the VA legalese in there, referencing the schedule of ratings, all of that type of stuff. Well, are there any conditions that wouldn't do that? Well, today it would be maybe tinnitus, right? You either have it or you don't, and if you do and it's service connected, it's 10%. So if you just maybe got, a Nexus letter saying that your tinnitus is from your time in service, due to whatever rationale you were, artillery, for example, or you were a mechanic, with pneumatic tools just all day long, then you're probably going to get service connected, and you're going to get the only rating there is. So you don't need to, go crazy with DBQs and stuff. All right, moving on. The updated regulation outlines the VA's duty to assist veterans by providing medical examinations or opinions when necessary, including when medical evidence is insufficient for rating purposes. This is why I went down that rabbit hole at the beginning. Look, veterans have a hard enough time supplying what they need to get the claim across the finish line anyway. So I think for most people out there filing claims, that they're going to run into this boat continuously unless they are going above and beyond themselves to really knock it out the park with evidence, or they're utilizing an accredited representative that's helping them to develop the claim, or they're using some sort of claims consultant, agent, attorney, somebody who is a second set of eyes. All right, so let's move on now to the actual M21. All right, so the M21, blah, 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 updated March 10th, 2025. And I'm just going to scroll down to the using medical evidence in lieu of examination portion, because that's really what we're talking about here. And let's dive into it. I'm just kind of trying to shrink it up so I don't look like I'm watching a tennis match. All right. So, as noted in the 38 CFR, Code of Federal Regulations 3.326 and M21-1, Part 5, Subpart 1, or I 1.A.1.C, medical evidence of record may be deemed adequate for rating purposes to make a decision on a claim without, in italics and bolded, requesting an examination or medical opinion. And it's kind of always been in the background there that could happen. They had the ability to do that. They just revised it a little here. Under the provisions of 38 USC and the 38 CFR, and I'm skipping all the numbers, and an examination or medical opinion is necessary only if, in italics here, only if the evidence of record does not contain sufficient medical evidence to make a decision on the claim. Okay, what's the decision they're trying to make? It's two. Well, I guess that's four. It's two decisions that the VA needs to make, and you need to supply them with all of the information they need from an evidentiary standpoint, right, with solid medical evidence for them to decide these two things. Are you service connected? And what rating should you be? If there's 5 different ratings available for your specific condition and all you're providing is stuff on service connection, and it's funny that we're talking about this, because it's one of those little things that kind of bother me, because there's a lot of content out there by a lot of new people, a lot of other people, a lot of people that have been around, and everybody seems to focus in on getting service connected. Great, cool, service connected. What if you get a 0% because you weren't focused also on providing the information needed to rate you appropriately, right? It's a two kind of focused, two-pronged approach here. So make sure that you are providing everything. I mean, it clearly says that, if they do not have the evidence on record, right, that you're supplying them, if they have nothing else, and you're supplying them whatever you are, and it does not contain sufficient medical evidence to make a decision on the claim, they absolutely will order a C&P exam for you. So accordingly, a review of the evidence of record to determine if it is adequate for rating purposes must be undertaken prior to determining whether an examination or opinion is necessary in accordance with subsequent guidelines in this topic. There's only 2 paragraphs left, so bear with me. Generally, in claims for service connection, for medical evidence of record to be considered adequate for rating purposes, the evidence must include sufficient details to determine whether service connection can be established, and if service connection is established, to determine the current level of disability. Here's the I don't know if anybody believes me out there, but let me preface it with this, if you're still on. I've been in the veterans benefits arena for a decade prior to starting YouTube. I was an accredited veteran service officer. I ran a team. We did claims. That's what we did. And so I get it. I understand all this stuff. So here's the thing I'm going to say. I don't know if you believe me or not. I didn't read really any of this. I just pulled it up so I could read to you what the changes were. I saw some other people talking about it, and I thought, okay, cool, a change. But I already knew in my mind what was going to happen, like what that would look like. I just already knew. And so as I'm giving these little warnings and what they're going to need to do, front-loaded, it was before I actually read it. So I'm glad that they're actually spelling it out here, because this is exactly what went through my mind as soon as I heard and saw that they were allowing for the elimination, we'll call it, of a C&P exam. The only way is if you provide them absolutely everything they need to make those 2 decisions, right? 2 decisions, service connection and the appropriate rating. All right, so let's dive back in. So the evidence must include sufficient details to determine whether service connection can be established, and if service connection is established, to determine the current level of disability. If the evidence of record includes information sufficient to grant service connection but insufficient to determine the appropriate evaluation, an examination would generally be needed prior to deciding the claim, right? I mean, this is, to me, I get it. Not everybody. And here's the thing, is that there's a lot of people that are sharing information about their journeys, about how things happen for them. Look, the VA is very nuanced, and unless you've seen thousands and thousands and thousands of claims, you might not realize how really nuanced it is. And I would just, as a word of caution, don't take anybody's word for anything. Everybody who is sharing information has a different viewpoint. They have different experiences. They have different professional experiences. Some are just basing it off of, whatever, their own personal stuff. So anyway, just don't take anybody's word 100%. Do your own due diligence. Work with an accredited rep. Call the VA. Work with a claims place, an attorney, a claims agent, whatever. Somebody who is in this world. Like I said, I mean, for me, I'm bringing what I know from my decade of veteran benefits knowledge and being accredited and working with the VA and all of that stuff to the table here. And obviously my own personal experience as well. All right, moving on. The use of these guidelines, right? In that they have a little table below that is given to the VA employee, right? This is kind of like a handbook for the VA employees. So it says here, use the guidelines in the table below to determine if evidence of record can be used to decide a claim in lieu of requesting an examination. These guidelines should be applied to claims for service connection where a nexus opinion is not needed. For example, with presumptive service connections and claims for increase. Okay, so that's a great point, and I'm glad that they added that in there. So why is it more advantageous for the VA, right, to look at not doing an examination for somebody with a presumptive? Well, because the nexus is already presumed. So if you have evidence that you supplied showing that you served wherever and you have whatever presumptive condition, the nexus is taken care of. So that part's done. Service connected, yes. However, presumptive condition folks out there, you absolutely must provide all of the information needed to rate you appropriately. Now, what does that look like? Really, the ideal situation is you have your doctor complete a DBQ utilizing the schedule of ratings from the VA and implementing that where necessary, wrapped up with VA legalese. If they can do that for you, awesome, best way to go. If they can't, AME, American Medical Experts, board certified doctors that can get that done for you. You don't need to explain it to them. They know this is what they do. All right, so for increases, same thing. For an increase, you've already determined to the VA, or the VA's already determined that you are service connected for that condition. You're just trying to show the severity has changed. So again, remember, it's a focus of two things: proving that service connection and proving the severity. Thanks for watching. I appreciate you. Have a great one. And remember, if we don't take care of each other, something went wrong.